We are here in Warsaw this year for, I think, the 8th time where we have organized a business day, which was the day before yesterday. We have launched a program called Action 2020. For the first time, global business has come together, talked to science. Some 800 scientists in the world have been consulted. What are the planetary and the societal targets and stress points that we need to address if we want to make the planet and society sustainable? 9 priority areas have been selected as a result. Obviously, climate change is one of those 9 areas. For each of the 9 priority areas, we have set societal goals, which are quantified and measurable. And after we set the goals, we have begun to identify what are business solutions that can contribute to achieve these goals. So if I take climate change as an example, we have now set a societal goal for what should society achieve in terms of climate change, which is basically saying we should adhere to the 2-degree as a maximum warming of our planet, translated that into 1 trillion tons of carbon, which is aligned with the IPCC AR5 report, the need for development, because there's still 1.8 billion people who do not have access to electricity, and the need to make societies resilient. And on the basis of that target, we have now identified 6 solution areas which our member companies will begin to implement.
So effectively, it's businesses' plan on how to reduce emissions, adapt to climate change, be more sustainable up till 2020.
Yeah, the basis of our work has been, we have created a thing called Vision 2050 3 years ago. Vision 2050 made a roadmap on how do we make our planet and societies sustainable. Action 2020 is what can business do now, between now and 2020, to make the first important steps on that trajectory. Because what the world needs is a transformational change. Business is traditionally very good at incremental change, every year a little bit better. But if we want to address climate change or some of the other sustainability challenges, we need transformational change. So we've set high goals, 1 trillion tons of carbon as a ceiling, and now we're looking for big ideas where we can get business engaged to start implementing them.
How do you make sure this isn't just a distraction? Because obviously there's a lot of work going on here at the meeting between governments, and shouldn't businesses be helping governments rather than going off and doing their own thing?
Well, that is a general observation I have from an event like this. Here in the stadium, governments are having their negotiations. There's quite a few businesses out there active, but they are all active in side events outside. This is precisely what Action 2020 is trying to address. We're designing these ideas. We're taking the role as business on what is the technology we need to get these ideas to flow, but also what are the policies we need and what is the financing requirements to get them to scale. Those policy needs are the discussions that should be taking place here. We will bring them into the meetings here, and we will bring them in the meetings running up to Paris in 2015 to get a real dialogue going and a real collaboration going between business and governments and civil society and eventually with the citizens of the world.
What motivates business to take part in this? Why should they take part in Action 2020?
Well, there's always a number of reasons. So WBCSD is a group of 200 members. These companies have all become member because they are serious about sustainable development. So there's an intrinsic motive for these companies to be involved. We call them the forward-thinking companies. Every person on this planet is a citizen of this planet, and we all need to worry about climate change. But more and more importantly, business is recognizing that the cost of inaction, the cost of not dealing with climate change, is getting larger than the cost of action. If we talk to our member companies, I recently spoke with the CEO of Unilever. He has annual cost of more than $300 million related to severe weather events. So there is a direct reason for business to get involved. Supply chains become more unpredictable as a result of climate change. That makes business more unpredictable, and that's why we need to get involved.
Can't it be used as an excuse to be against regulation, because it means that you can say, oh, well, we're doing our own thing?
No, again, the way Action 2020 is designed is actively seeking what are solutions that are scalable and can bring solutions. What is the policies? And policies will mostly be regulation that will allow us to scale up these solutions. And what are policies we should eliminate? So we're very clear, fossil fuel subsidies should be stopped. The money we can free up to invest in renewables or in other solutions. So we're not against regulation. We even are stronger in it will require regulations to get some of these solutions to flow, but we need to have a discussion, what are the solutions that can really have impact? What are the regulations that can really accelerate the implementation? And what can business do to be part of the solution?
Which businesses are holding this back?
There's 200 members, companies, large companies, and WBCSD. There is 60,000 listed companies around the world. I wouldn't claim they are all holding back, but they're also not all members of the forward-thinking group yet. So there's clearly a section of business which has strong vested interest against the changes that we need to consider to deal with climate change. Rather than just simply blaming these people for having an interest, what is much more effective in our analysis is let's look what is their problem and what are solutions for those problems. So stranded assets is always a topic that we need to discuss. We can continue to discuss it. It's more effective to find what are solutions for stranded assets. And then we will help people who are slightly more concerned about these changes to adapt them.
If you get more businesses involved in Action 2020, do you think you could move ahead of the kind of targets that are being discussed here?
Well, to be honest, I've lost track of what the targets are that people are discussing here, and the numbers I've seen are not that encouraging. But I don't want to make it a race. What is important for me is we have now listened to science. Science has given us the latest targets. 1 trillion ton of carbon is the maximum we can put up in the atmosphere, which actually doesn't give us a lot of time to deal with this issue, because at the current run rate, that is between 20 and 30 years of emissions. If we want to transform the energy system in the world, 20 or 30 years is not a lot of time. So where we are putting our efforts is really looking at what are large solutions, what are policies and financing instruments that can scale those up as quick as we can, and how then do we achieve the targets that science is telling us are important.